to Attack of the Remakes here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a film from 2003. That movie is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, this movie is one that's going to stand out a little bit compared to the rest of this month. You see, when I was looking for remakes to cover here, I wanted to find remakes to movies I really loved, which is why I did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because I've been a fan of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory since I was about 6. I did the remake of Total Recall, because Total Recall is my favorite Schwarzenegger film of all time. But now we're up to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and here's where things are going to get a little bit odd, you see. Because in the grand pantheon of legendary horror films, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre never really appealed to me too much. I didn't hate it, it's just came off as a little bit average, a little bit, dry, a little bit dull at times. So I'm going into this thing certainly hoping that it is a step up, but I do have just that slight, I guess, bias, we could almost call it. I wasn't a big fan of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so my hopes are not ultra high on this thing being any good, but it still might be. It might actually be a grand improvement over the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I have no idea. The only way I'm going to find out is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Wait a moment, wait. So, this woman, this hitchhiker, had a revolver jammed in her crotch, and it was fully cocked. Why would you keep a cocked revolver? I understand that she's dead now. She just committed suicide with her crotch gun. My question is, why the fuck was the damn thing cocked when it was still inside of her? Like, that means that it's ready to fire. You'd think if she was just going to blow her own brains out, she would, wait until she pulls it out before cocking it. No. I understand, guys, it's pointless, it's stupid, and the scene and the scene is done, and the hitchhiker's dead, and blah, 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 but still, just, there seems to be a safety hazard with a fully cocked crotch gun. I'm just saying. And I never thought I'd get to say the phrase fully cocked crotch, gun. That just sounds kind of funny. Guys, I know earlier I said I wasn't the biggest fan of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Do you want to know what that movie had that this movie so far doesn't have? Shit happening. We are almost a third of the way through this movie, and all we've had is the crotch gun mishap. That's it. Not a single fucking thing has happened since then, and not a damn thing happened before it. This thing has nightmarishly bad pacing. The only thing that's worse than the pacing is the acting. But hey, who knows? This thing still has an hour to get better. Who knows? It might actually get, good. Good Lord, I fucking hope that this gets better. So I just got to see Leatherface take a chainsaw to someone's leg, shear it clear off. The guy is still alive, surprise, surprise. You'd think with a large chunk of your leg missing, you'd completely bleed out within minutes. But as Leatherface was carrying him off, he then scratched a wall so bad that all of his nails peeled off. All of that sounds really nasty, and if this film was any good, it would probably have turned my stomach. Unfortunately, the special effects in this movie are almost as bad as the pacing and almost as bad as the horrendous acting. And I'm going to double down on the acting. The sheriff is played by R. Lee Ermey. And R. Lee Ermey, under any other circumstance, can fucking act. He's not even putting in any effort here. That fills me with nothing but dread, man. This is gonna suck. I think I figured it out, guys. I think I know why I don't care for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's because Leatherface isn't frightening. I swear, guys, like every single scene of him running around with his fucking chainsaw and chopping off people's legs and making fucking making masks out of human skin. None of that is frightening. At all. Like, there is nothing to be afraid of here because the guy is kind of sort of slow, and frankly, chainsaws are just not a very interesting weapon. So at least now I know why I don't care for the franchise in general, and having a boring monster essentially makes this movie even worse. Either that, or else he's just exceptionally dull here, because again, it's been a while since I saw the original. I just know that what I'm watching here is fucking garbage. So let me see if I understand the logic here. These two are running from Leatherface, who has a chainsaw. Their option is to go into a house that's made of mostly wood and barricade the door with a couch. Guess what chainsaws can easily cut through? If you guessed a thin wooden door and a fucking couch, bravo! You are officially smarter than the retards in this fucking movie. Good God. You know, I really think that also leads to why Leatherface is not that frightening. Is his victims are clinically retarded, and it's just not that much fun watching a maniac go and chop up fucking, you know, the specially fucking abled. You know what I mean? Well, guys, that was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Let's shut that off. Holy fuck, that was something else. Jesus Christ, where to fucking start? Okay. I guess, as has been the way this month, I guess we should compare this to the original film, and which one would I recommend first. And I would recommend the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre from '74 long before I recommend this fucking thing. Partially because the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre actually had a heart. It had a soul. It actually felt like it was worth watching. There was actual tension in the film. This has none of that. This thing is just a boring, straight-up slasher flick, and the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a lot more than that. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre actually had bits that were just a little bit more like cerebral. I would almost say psychological, but it's not that far yet. But it was just far more like subtle, cerebral kind of horror, and it worked. It's just both films are, you know, just sort of haggard by the fact that they've got a horrible, I guess, monster, for lack of a better word. But yeah, Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre was actually watchable. Granted, it was kind of slow, it was a little bit dull, but goddammit, at least it was memorable. This thing, no. This is a poor, dead-eyed fucking knockoff, and I would not recommend it under any circumstances. Now, what about the movie itself? Now that I've made my comparison, what about the film proper? And we're going to start with the writing, and my God, I think one big problem that this movie has is, now mind you, it's been a long time since I watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so my memory's kind of shit. But I do remember there being a bit more focus on the entire Hewitt family instead of just on Leatherface. This movie pretty much says that the fucking family's there, but we're all here for Leatherface and nothing else, and that wasn't really the point of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The point was the fact that the whole family is fucked up. The whole family is frightening. Leatherface just sort of has that little extra edge because he's got the human skin, you know, mask. He has the whole human skin mask thing going on. He has the whole Ed fucking Gein deal, you know, flying through. And, you know, that honestly benefited the film. The fact that we saw that the whole family was psycho. The whole family is, you know, worth actually being kind of sort of afraid of instead of just, the whole family's kind of weird, you know, and they kidnap babies, this and this, but Leatherface is sort of the main draw. No, the whole fucking family is. I've seen movies which have paid homage and tribute. One of the big ones, one of my favorite movies ever, is House of a Thousand Corpses, which took a whole lot of cues from this movie. Did they just focus on Captain fucking Spaulding, even though because he's the most memorable? No, they focused on the entire Firefly family, because you need to do that. They did not do that here. And so we have the whole family, and they're all, nuts in their own kind of way, but none of them actually get any real focus, and Leatherface takes center fucking stage, and that doesn't feel right, especially considering how weak character Leatherface is by default. Anyway, that right there was one issue, is that the movie doesn't really focus itself well, and it just seems to drive entirely on gore and jump scares, and the jump scares here are not that good. The gore here is not that good. I really wish I could tell you anything about any of the other characters, but no, there is nothing interesting about any of these characters. All of them are simply there to smoke weed and die. That's it. That's quite literal, except for, I'm not going to spoil any details here, but most of them are here, essentially, to smuggle weed, smoke weed, and die. That's it. And, of course, then we have the family, who just likes to torment, torture, and kill, people, which totally makes them interesting. I would have loved a movie more focused on them, but oh well. The pacing here is insane. The fact that, and when I say insane, I mean insanely slow. Nothing happens in this fucking movie, and when they finally do start to get things, rolling, it's then essentially the same chase scene for like 40 minutes of Leatherface running down people while he's waving his fucking chainsaw around in the, fucking air. And it just stops being interesting after about 10 minutes. I think that's why the original film, again, if memory serves, I could be totally wrong, but had more of a focus on the entire family. Because you can't focus entirely on Leatherface. There's nothing to fucking focus on. Anyway, I really wish I could tell you anything else about the writing, but the writing here is so shallow, so hollow, so lifeless and pointless that there's nothing to talk about. There's nothing here. This is one of the emptiest horror films I think I've ever fucking seen, and I sat through The Conjuring a couple of fucking weeks back. I thought that thing was, dead-eyed and lifeless. No, this sucker is dead-eyed and fucking lifeless, man. Nothing happens at all for 98 minutes. Wait, well, is it 90? Hang on. Yeah, 98 minutes. Nothing happens at all. Not a single goddamn thing, and that's fucking tragic. So yeah, writing, I really can't say much about the writing because there's nothing to fucking talk about. Nothing the fuck happens. Acting. I stated that our acting. Oh, I stated a few times over the course of watching it that the acting was shit. But there is one lone standout, and I want to put this. I want to separate this person from the rest of the cast because this is one of the only people who actually fucking tried. And it's also one of the only people who came back from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You see, at the start of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there's a small piece of narration. And in the original, it was done by a then unknown actor named John Larroquette, who later went on and achieved a lot of fame in Night Court, of all things. Well, they got him back for this, and he still plays the fucking narrator. He's the only one who seems to give a shit. Okay, he is the only one who turns in a performance that I would even say is half good. The rest of our cast doesn't try anything. They do nothing for 98 minutes. The one that floors me the most on that, because, God, who the fuck was the female lead? Was it Jessica Biel? Of course it fucking was, because when I think, women who should be totally in movies because they have all the acting talent of a damp fucking sponge, yeah, I think Jessica Biel. The one who surprised me the most, though, was the man who played the sheriff. The man is R. Lee Ermey. Ermey has been in a lot of things. Granted, he almost always plays the same fucking role in every movie. But still, the man knows how to act, and he can do a damn good job of it. why the fuck wasn't he trying here? I wasn't expecting anything from Jessica Biel or from Eric fucking Balfour or the rest of the cast. I had almost no hope there, but when I saw that the sheriff was being played by, Gunny, I thought maybe I was going to get something. I kind of thought that R. Lee Ermey would actually be able to do something in this. No. Didn't even fucking bother trying. Which kind of sucks, because if there was even one character in this film who wasn't the fucking narrator who was any good, it might have made the thing a little bit more tolerable. And, yeah, the acting here is awful. Save for John fucking Larroquette coming in and recording about 2 minutes of audio. Everything else here is just terrible in terms of acting. Special effects. Special effects are okay. There are certain bits that look fine, like when Leatherface saws off some fucking dude's leg, saws it off from I'd say around like the knee area. That looks fine. That actually looks pretty fucking good. When Leatherface accidentally saws into his own leg because he trips trying to get through a barbed wire fence, that looked pretty fucking decent. When the guy who had his leg chopped off was trying to grab onto a wall and stop himself, and was scratching at the wall and his fingernails were peeling off, that looked like shit. Okay? There's a member of the family is this little kid, and the only real noticeable thing on him is that he has real fucked up teeth. Except those fucked up teeth are the same kind you can buy in most fucking grocery stores for about 99 cents in their little minuscule like toy aisle. And there's no effort to make it to make it look natural. So we have that, and that honestly is more in terms of like makeup and the failings involving makeup. At one point when the sheriff has to pull out his fake teeth, again, that also looks way off, because suddenly his teeth go from being at a natural height to suddenly being lower because they got to put the fake fucking top on there. It looks just cheap and shit. And a whole lot of our blood, a whole lot of our gore, Leatherface's various skin fucking masks, they all look terrible. Which is surprising, because this is a movie from Platinum fucking Dunes, which is Michael Bay's company. Michael Bay threw money at this goddamn thing, and normally when Michael Bay throws fucking money at something, it at least in terms of special effects, at least looks halfway decent. Because if there's one thing that Michael Bay can do marginally well, it's special effects. In this case, no, nada. There was nothing there at all. Wasn't even worth looking at in terms of special effects, because for every single decent special effect, we had 4 or 5 really shit ones. So I'm just gonna say that, and because this movie wants to live off of gore so badly, it honestly makes the whole fucking experience a little bit worse, because there's so much, and so much of it is shit. It just winds up coming off as just a really terrible viewing fucking experience. Music. The score here is your usual bland, horror score where something is running fucking across shot, and it's supposed to like frighten the viewer a little bit. We get this real bassy boom as they're like running past the screen. We also get that same thing during any and all jump scares. Beyond that, there isn't really much in terms of the score. The soundtrack, which I will say basically is made up of the stuff that our main characters are listening to as they're driving out of Mexico and into Texas. Well, because they're going to a Skynyrd concert, it makes sense that they're listening to Skynyrd in the fucking van. So you get to hear a little bit of Sweet Home. You get to hear a bit of Sweet Home Alabama. I would probably have picked a better Skynyrd song personally, but still, it's still an awesome song, and it's probably the best moment in the entire film, because at least there's something decent happening. Well, not even happening. There's just something decent playing on the fucking radio. So there is that. Music here is a little bit of a waste. Lighting. This movie is painfully fucking dark, and I just want to make this point abundantly clear right now to any future filmmakers. All right, just simply because just because you're making a horror movie does not mean that you don't have to light the fucking scenes, okay? Alright? We do not need everything to be in pitch darkness. We don't need everything to look like it's, lit essentially by fucking candlelight to make it frightening, okay? It would be nice if we could see some of the details that are going on instead of this shit. It was dark, it was muddy, it was terrible, and it shouldn't have been that dark or muddy considering the fact that I watched the son of a bitch on fucking Blu-ray. Oh boy, camera work is okay. That's really about all I can say. Is there's nothing ultra special here in terms of camera work, but there also isn't anything that's ultimately fucking terrible. The sound mix is decent, but then again, that honestly isn't a huge feat for sound mix to be fucking decent. Ultimately, guys, when all is said and done, can I recommend the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? No. Hell fucking no. If you can find the original from 74, by all means, yes. I honestly am not the biggest fan of that movie. I found it to be a little bit dull, but it's leaps and bounds better than this fucking thing. This movie has no reason to exist. And considering the fact that I believe there was another remake made after this, that just tells me that Hollywood is even more creatively dead than I fucking thought. I will say, there was one thing which I think would have made for a vastly better movie within this, and that was at the very start we are shown footage of the police walkthrough of the fucking crime scene. Perhaps maybe a 90-minute movie of that, which would have ended with Leatherface jumping out and killing the two people filming. That honestly would probably have been a lot more interesting. It would have been, film it and make it look more like a true crime documentary or something. That might have been interesting. Instead, we get shown some of that at both the start and the finish, and then nothing. And then the movie turns into lifeless pig shit from in fucking between those two bits. There's no way I can recommend this thing. This movie is absolute fucking trash. Now, I mentioned House of a Thousand Corpses earlier, because that movie took a lot of inspiration from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I fucking love House of a Thousand Corpses, and it's been a long time since I sat down and watched it. And I see it on my Blu-ray shelf. I'm not only going to go watch that, but I'm also going to go watch the sequel, The Devil's fucking Rejects, because I love that movie too. They're both fucking amazing. And I'm going to pretend that this son of a bitch was never made. Anyway, my friends, with that we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.